And I mean, what's your take on the DA's education policy? I mean, they plan on getting better education and also minimizing corruption. Do you think this is a threat to the leading party, to the ruling party?
In terms of the education element, they speak a lot about expanding tertiary opportunities, and specifically they speak about NASFAS and all of that, basically capacitating the state in order to provide funding for students to go to university. But that is already happening. And the allocation is, just this year, because of the crisis, that it went to about, what, 9 billion or something. So basically, that is already happening. And the emphasis on early childhood, that's already happening. And it's really difficult to differentiate in terms of what the skills are. And of course, the DA has leveraged, I guess, from its perceived success, from its expanded public works program in the Western Cape, in saying that they provide on-the-job training, they provide sort of real preparedness for the market through such programs, and there's greater emphasis on that. So I guess it bodes well for them, and if they view that as their flagship program, which has relatively been successful in the Western Cape, then they're seeing it as a way forward. But in terms of policy that really differentiates them from the ANC, in terms of the educational policy, not really. It's still that understanding of a sort of a developmental state-like thing. So they will not do away with some of the social assistance packages that are available at the basic educational level, and certainly what they want to emphasize is around quality. So, and I guess at the end, much of the manifesto really would be much of the same priorities with some parties, just that a promise that they'll do it better than any other person.
So let's look at what the EFF is saying in terms of education. Free education for all till tertiary level. Your take on that?
Well, they are sort of a nationalist leftist party, so you'd expect that kind of rhetoric to come from that. And even if you looked at the USSR, for instance, there was great emphasis on tertiary education, particularly around technical skills. And of course, the EFF models itself based on ZANU-PF, and that in terms of ZANU-PF, there has been some growth in regards to the education, or at least the education has continued to be relatively good in comparison to the rest of the country. So it seems as if we're borrowing those elements and emphasizing that importance. And then in terms of free education, as I said, because if you are to read their whole manifesto and understand where they'll get the funds from, somewhat nationalist government, and certainly one that will nationalize resources and then divert them to social assistance, to welfareist programs. That is pretty much the crux of the EFF manifesto. Whether it can be done or not, it's another question. There are countries that have done it in some other way. Perhaps if you look at the Scandinavian countries, your Sweden and all of that, they've done it. But of course, they do not take the positions in their entirety, such as the EFF, around nationalization and all of that. Industry still operates in those countries, just that the country is much more welfareist. So that's the angle that EFF is going.